Welcome or welcome back. We are gathered here to do the mid-year freakout-tag. Isn't that lovely? It's the beginning of July, and so we have officially passed the half-year mark, which is bizarre, just like every year. In that sense, I'm freaking out a little because the years go by very fast, or the months. Let's keep it up, months. Apart from that, like reading-wise, I'm not freaking out all that much. I have read, I think, a total of 19 books so far, which is normal. I don't even really know if I have a goal number-wise. I think I would like to read 50 books in 2025, but if I don't, I don't. So, I have a list here, and I'm using the questions that are around. I do not know who started this tag. It's a very old tag, I think, that has been around for quite a long time. I got my questions from Carrie's last freakout tag, so these are the ones that I'm gonna be talking about. And yeah, let's start. First question. What are the best books that I have read so far in 2025? First off would be Leonard and Hungry Paul. This book it came out of nowhere for me. I had never heard of it before, but I was at the bookstore with my mom and I picked it up, and I was in dire need for a book that would not make me sad. We will come to that later. So it seemed like a good time, and it was such a good time. Very much recommend. I like that the characters are characters that I don't normally read about. I think they were in their 30s or 40s, and both of them were single, and it was about their friendship. I don't think that I have ever before read about a friendship about two grown-up men. So that was very interesting, and they were very endearing, both of them, Leonard and Paul, and the characters around them as well. So yeah, the second one is 22 Bahnen by Wahl, which is a German book, and my mom read this before me and she recommended it to me. I think it was, actually, let me look up when this came out. This came out in 2023, very much praised, and here in Germany. Wahl is also, she's still very young. She's a young female author here. It was my first work by her, and I very much enjoyed her writing style first off, and then reading this book, I realized how much I like reading German literature. And in this case, with a focus on German contemporary literature, because it makes such a difference in terms of how you can connect with the story and the characters when you can pick up on little details. Are you supposed to talk about these books that in depth? I've never done the mid-year freakout-tag before, but there were a lot of German details. There were a lot of details that I could pick up on because I grew up and live in Germany, and so they are close to my reality, and it made me think about how that's just cool. That's just cool. Let's leave it at that. I don't want this video to be hours long, so let's move on. So my third book on this list was actually the one that was my first book in 2025, and it was also a reread, and I also have a reading vlog on my channel for this book, and it's Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which is just one of my favorite books, and I really wanted to reread it. It was good. It was so good. If you want to hear me yap about it, you can watch the other video. Let's move on. Second question, what was the best sequel that I have read so far? I'm not really keeping up with a lot of series right now, so the only sequel that I read this year or listened to an audiobook was the second volume in the Bliss Bakery series by Kathryn Littlewood. The second volume is called Dash of Magic, and it's a middle grade series. So the first one I liked a lot. It pulled me out of an emotional slump in winter. I really needed the lightheartedness and the magic and the baking. But the second book was a little bit all over the place, and yeah, still nice, but this was also, it's the best sequel because it's the only sequel that I read. Third question, what is a new release you haven't read yet but want to in 2025? I really want to read Sunrise on the Reaping. I know, I haven't read it yet because I'm still debating on whether I should read the whole Hunger Games series again, like do a reread and then read Sunrise on the Reaping, which is how I would normally do it and how I would like to do it, but I'm not in the mood for a Hunger Games reread at the moment. And so I'm not sure if I will get around to Sunrise on the Reaping this year, or if it just has to wait and age a little, and I will 100%ly get around to it at one point. To be honest, I'm in no rush with that as well. You see, I'm just so laid back with the readings. And the second one, I think I just looked up what books will come out in 2025, and one of them is called Alchemised by SenLinYu. I hope that's how you pronounce the name of the author, and it had the most gorgeous cover, really intriguing, and also sound very good, so maybe this is on my list now, and maybe I will get around to it. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year has to go to the Ragpicker King. I know, you might say now, excuse her, is she not up to date? The Ragpicker King is already out. Don't you worry, I am up to date, and I know that it's already out. It's just not out in German. And I read Swordcatcher in German, and I plan on reading the Ragpicker King in German as well, because of coherency reasons and also probably understanding reasons. I like reading in English, and I do, but a lot of the times it's just more exhausting, and I also think that I don't get as... The lighting is crazy, like it almost seems like there's no... like it's just one... Why am I so light? Can we not do this?
I have struggles with my cameras, okay?
It's a story for another day. No. Got my glasses dirty.
Optician.
I went to the optician. Where was I? Yeah, the Ragpicker King, German. It only comes out in German in September, the 17th of September, and I'm already very excited because I liked Swordcatcher a lot. It really reminded me of the fact that I just adore fantasy. And the second one is Die Assistentin, which is also by Wahl. It's her newest release and will come out in the end of August. So I'm also excited for that one because I want to read another book by her, see if I like it as much as I liked Bahnen. Stepping into the biggest disappointment and the biggest surprise so far this year. The biggest disappointment. My biggest disappointments were both witchy books. This might not have anything to do with the fact that they are both about witches or witchcraft. This may have something to do with me putting a lot of expectations into stuff about witches and witchcraft because I love witches and witchcraft, and so I just want to love everything that has witches in it. and I haven't read anything about witches in a long time, or like consumed anything content-wise about witches. And this year I already did 2 things. One of them I DNF'd, which was The Witch of Portobello by Paulo Coelho. I didn't vibe with it. Can't really tell you anything more about it because I only like that dancing is a major theme in this book. It's a lot about dancing to achieve a higher consciousness, and I really like this theme. I just felt very indifferent to the whole story, and then I DNF'd it. And the second one was Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch, which was not a book. I didn't dislike the book, I just feel very neutral about it. And because I was so excited to read it, I read it in the video for the 3 orange books. I wanted it first off to make me feel orange, and second to give me the witchy energy. And I know that this is about a real life witch trial, so this is not supposed to be like an adventurous, ha ha ha, we're all having such a good time riding our rooms and dancing around the fire kind of situation. I know that, and still I was disappointed. On the other hand though, biggest surprise of the year, actually I have it here, Different for Boys. Can you see it? Different for Boys by Patrick Ness. And this was not a surprise in the sense that I was blown away by the story. I really liked it, and it was cool. It has a lot of drawings in it, and a very interesting style of writing where a lot of the words, like curse words and stuff, are censored on purpose, which was something I have never encountered in any book. But it was more so, or like more a surprise in the sense that I didn't even know this book existed. I knew Patrick Ness, but I didn't know that this book existed, and I found it on accident. I stumbled upon it in a bookstore. They had a whole stack of books that all costed only €3 per book, and to this day I still don't know why. Maybe they go out of stock there, and they have it regularly, so I make sure to once in a while visit this bookstore to see if they have new stuff. And it's I think it's only, why is it getting dark now? Excuse you. Hello? What is this? Okay. So I don't feel comfortable in this chair. Okay. My favorite new author, Kathryn. I already talked about her. My newest fictional crush, Ali, from Pink Elephant by Luca Kieser. I also wrote this. Of course I wrote it. I didn't write this book. Okay, I read this book for my orange video, and I just really I adored Ali. Smirky, kind of like physical touch persons, always joking around, but very soft inside. That's the kind of guy that Ali is, and he is 14 or 15, so take crush with a grain of salt there. My newest favorite character, Ali as well. To be honest, almost all of the books that I read so far this year had characters that I don't really feel any strong attachment to, regardless of gender. I really just felt fine about most of them, so it was kind of hard to pick a new favorite character. As I already said, Leonard and Paul from Leonard and Hungry Paul are also very endearing, and I would probably pick them as my favorite characters as well. A book that made me cry. Well, I don't even know. I don't think that there were so many books that made me cry, but I feel like I read a lot of very heavy stuff. My sister recently called me out on that and was like, girl, just why are you reading so many dark books?
Why are you running?
I don't know, it happened, and I'm not saying that they were bad because they were dark, but they were dark, and so they were heavy, and that wasn't too good most of the time for my mental and emotional well-being. So there were definitely books that made me cry. One of them being Wann wird es endlich wieder so, wie es nie war, by Joachim Meyerhoff, a German actor and a German author. His books are very beloved. All of his books are basically autobiographies, but fictionalized in a way. And because he has such an interesting life and is very good at observing his environment and the people around him, and he is very, for example, one of his books is about his grandparents, and I wouldn't say that they are bizarre, but in a way they are, like, a very special people, and he has a lot of them, or encountered a lot of them in his life. And this book in particular was about his childhood, and there was a big focus on his dad. He was the director of a clinic for, it's Hession people, okay? Don't quote me on this because I don't know what the right terms are in English, but for people who are mentally impaired, but also for children with physical impairments, and also for criminals. It was in the 80s, and so a lot, like, there were these big sort of like gated areas where all of these people were treated, but also just lived there. It's very odd, and Joachim Meyerhoff, the author, he says himself that he's glad that this doesn't exist in this form anymore today, because obviously the different needs of these people couldn't be met there. Like Joachim Meyerhoff, he grew up in the midst of this huge area, in the midst of all of these people who were not normal. Because Meyerhoff has such an eye for humans, he is also very good at pinching you where it hurts, stabbing you where it hurts, honestly, in a lot of cases. I don't think that I cried this much in a long time because of a book. It was so painful, especially because at this time I didn't need anything more heavy weighing on me. And I also think that I cried because of I Who Have Never Known Men. It added its own bit of hopelessness to the gathering, you lose your sense of hope very quickly when you read this book. A book that made me happy, on the other hand, Leonard and Paul, as I already said. Leonard and Hungry Paul, it's called in English. And the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. I think that my cover for I Who Have Never Known Men is actually pretty cool. Also, I recently, a friend borrowed me her copy of Kafka on the Shore, and it's so tiny. Like, can you see this? I also like this one because the color is nice. We have already gotten to the last question. My god, just how quickly you talk for about 40 minutes alone in your room about books that you read. The last question: what books do you need to read by the end of the year? The first one I already showed you right now, Kafka on the Shore. I need to read this because I have to give it back to my friend. And there's another book that another friend gave to me, which is Das Spiel ist aus by Jean-Paul Sartre. And these are the books that I wrote down because I need to read them in order to give them back. Because the Jean-Paul Sartre one I already have for way too long. So yeah, I need to read those. And apart from that, do I need to read anything? No, not really. There's nothing on my list that I need to read by the end, like by December. I'm happy with everything that comes my way. I'm looking forward, as I said, to the Ragpicker King and the books that I will borrow from the library, because I now have a library card for another library in my city. Yeah, and I'm excited for that because I love the library so much. And I also checked out Libby for the first time. I will scrape out the last bit of peanut butter from my peanut butter jar and then continue reading my book. Can't tell you right now what it is because you will find out in a couple of weeks or next week. You will find out at some point, or you won't. Don't freak out too much about it already being the beginning of July. Do make use of the good weather if there's good weather where you live, and I will see you hopefully very soon. Bye!